It's been a record-setting year for Rachel Pokratsky, Virginia Tech. She's broken 2 Tech records this year coming into the championship weekend. Both those records broken not in the event she just won. It was the mile earlier in the year and the 1,000-meter race, and a championship running by the junior for Virginia Tech. Men's 800 coming up in just a little bit. This is a loaded field. Neil Gourley, Patrick Joseph, again the Hokies with strong representation. Georgia Tech's Avery, Bartlett, Andreas, LITTIG getting loose and ready for the Yellow Jacket contingency. And then let's not forget about John Lewis of Clemson, Robert Heppenstall of Wake Forest. Boy, you take your pick here.
This one is absolutely loaded. The top 6 in the conference all made it in. The top 4 of them are NCAA qualifiers, ACC placers indoors and out. They've got international accolades. They race each other all the time. It is really anybody's moment in the sun here. This is one of the toughest events in the NCAA right now, the men's 800. It is so deep, and the ACC is a part of that depth. We expect some of these to be able to move up. Heppenstall comes in ranked number 10 in the country. Only Bartlett is right on the bubble at number 16 for qualifying, and there's more in this race that is capable of being in that NCAA final, in that national. So we'll see what happens as they come together. It will be a fast time. They will not play around. They're going to go after it.
John Lewis of Clemson with that preliminary time of 1:48.62. It's been a force this year for the Tigers. Top 3 times in Clemson history in both the indoor and outdoor 800, but they're all trying to catch Patrick Joseph.
Joseph is the meet record holder, the championship record of 146.23 last year. He hasn't really approached that yet this year, but no one doubts that he can do that. So we'll see what the tactics are going to be able to get some of these runners out. Heppenstall and Bartlett, pretty tall, so is LITTIG. So they may have a slightly different strategy of trying to get loose and free. We'll see what they try to do.
Well, but you guys do. John Lewis is one of those guys. He likes to lead, and you get in front of this crowd. And you got this crowd cheering. He could be one of those guys that gets onto the podium just on sheer guts. He's really, and he's maturing into a good 800-meter runner. It's interesting, last year he almost looked like he looked more like a sprinter, was a little bit stronger in the upper body, and this year he looked like he's leaned out a little bit more to the middle distances.
Right, Lewis said he's had PRs in every event except for the 800 coming into this weekend. He ran a season best in that qualifying, and he clearly had a lot more left. He was very relaxed as he went through. LITTIG there you see on your screen next to Heppenstall. LITTIG ran the fastest split on the 800 in the DMR. Heppenstall is a first-team All-American, finishing 5th indoors and 8th outdoors. 5th at the World Junior Championships for Canada, so talent galore.
And Heppenstall's another guy in this event. He's been close to getting to the top of the podium. Can this be the year he finally gets a top in the indoor 800?
He comes in as the best in the conference right now. And it certainly, I think what's going to have to happen is somebody's going to have to be bold, like Dan said, and try to just take it right from the start, or they're going to have all the pieces of the puzzle fall into place. There are so many moving parts because there's so much talent on the track.
Well, that puzzle is about to get figured out. We are underway, the men's 800. Joseph of Virginia Tech, the defending champion.
Dante Watson of Pittsburgh, we haven't even mentioned. He's out quickly right now in that inside box right outside of Heppenstall.
Watson making his first appearance in the ACC finals, and as Dan talked about, Lewis is a guy who likes to get out in front. He's going to set the pace early in the opening 200.
Gourley ran the anchor leg of the winning distance medley. He's a Scottish native, and here running and doing a great job for the Hokies. He is going to definitely be in the mix. That's your defending champion meet record holder, Patrick Joseph, going to the outside.
At the 400-meter mark, it will be Joseph for a brief moment grabbing his first lead, but Lewis says, nuh-uh, not yet.
52.88, Joseph went through, so that is moving on an indoor track. That's a good first 400. They need to beat each other, but they need those times to get into that national meet. This is it. This is their opportunity right here.
Well, I like the way that Joseph is surging and Lewis is answering back. That provides for some good running times.
We're down to our final lap. Lewis maintaining the lead, surrounded by Hokies in the number 2 and 3 spots. Heppenstall of Wake Forest trying to get into the act as well.
Heppenstall and Bartlett on the move from 4th and 5th. They're going to come up and join the fray right now. John Lewis trying to do what Dan said, take it from the gun.
This place will go nuts if Lewis can hang on. Here comes Gourley at the wire, and it's Gourley of Virginia Tech.
And Heppenstall sliding in on the inside may have overtaken Lewis as well. Lewis does finish second. Wow. Tremendous racing, great tactics, great heart. Jumping up a whole number of them onto the national list. Here we take into the finish. John Lewis has had the lead. Gourley goes to the outside. That 3:59 split on the DMR showed that he had the strength. Heppenstall just left himself out of the pack a little bit too long before he could close on them.
Too many moves by Joseph. He got into position. He tried to make a serve. John Lewis held him off. He did that 2 or 3 times. John Lewis was not going to let anybody pass him. But I think Joseph got into trouble because that's where he used all his energy. Instead of just letting John Lewis lead that race, let somebody else do all the work and then come up the side and pass him.
That's a good point, Dan. You know, Joseph, also knowing that Gourley can close the way he did, may have wanted to try to get that lead earlier and try to run it out from him. When you have that many different factors in a race, you can't really focus on one opponent, and you can't even totally focus on yourself because there are different people doing different things. Gourley comes through with his second gold medal of this ACC championship. DMR, and now your 800 individual champ.
Young man who picked up a gold medal last year in the outdoor championships in the 1500, and here he wins the 800 meters.
That's the number 2 time in the country for Gourley. For Lewis, that's now number 4. For Heppenstall, number 5. Joseph, that puts him up in the top 10 as well. That was huge for the ACC. These runners needed that kind of time. They should all buy John Lewis dinner tonight.
Couple of Hokies coming together, the 2 champions, Pokratsky and Gourley, giving each other a big hug. A Virginia Tech sweep, something that, again, we're getting used to in this 800.
They're very strong in the middle distances, just as we've been seeing in the men's pole vault. It's on both genders. Strength in the 800, strength in the mile and 1500. That carries over into their distance medley relays, which both were champions here. Here's that Pokratsky finish. She's being challenged. Fallon Ferguson of Clemson had the fastest last lap at 30.